Hey, Casey Ho fam, what is up? This is the Professor. I have the Warrior Queen with me, and we went out and had dinner. We had dinner at a pizza place that I hate. You like them, I hate them.
It's not that I like the restaurant, it's that their pizza is decent. And here in Arizona, it's kind of difficult to find decent pizza. Maybe if you're from Arizona, it's not so difficult. But we're from Chicago originally, where they have excellent pizza. So out here, you're kind of hard-pressed to find good pizza, and this place has decent pizza.
I shaved.
You did, which is good, because you were really scruffy.
I shaved. I feel like a smooth baby's butt. Go ahead and feel it.
It's not quite as smooth. Well, it's kind of smooth, but not as smooth as a baby's butt. But you were getting a little too burly. And as you know, we've been together for 27 years just about, and you know I don't like facial hair on you. So you were too burly.
Yes. We didn't tape at the restaurant because it was too loud, so we decided to come to the mall.
Where it's really loud.
Yes, where like every 12-year-old now wants to congregate around us.
Yes, so they can see what we're doing.
Do you think that's what it is?
Probably. Maybe they're hoping they could get behind us and
photobomb us? What? Right. That would be awesome.
They probably think we're too old to realize.
That dude right there, the kid squeaking his shoes, needs a spanking.
Yes. Well, all the rest of them probably think we're too old to realize what photobombing is.
Yes, yeah. I invented it.
I'm pretty sure not. Yeah. I have coffee too.
So
I have coffee, see?
The reason we're here. So this is the mall. This is a local mall. This is where we like to go walk. What do you say, twice a week we go and walk?
Probably. Yeah.
And behind us is a carousel where they'll, for like, I don't know, $3, you can put your kid on it and it goes around and around.
What nobody can see though is on the other end of the mall, there's this really cool contraption that you can sit in and kind of bounce and swing.
It's awesome. Fun. I want to do a video on it.
He only thinks it's awesome because he's not actually done it, but it does look kind of fun.
We should do a video on it.
It does look fun.
Okay. We're here to talk about Neerja.
Yes.
You saw Neerja.
I did.
What did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. As you know, I am a fan of movies that depict true stories. This was a true story, and heartbreaking. I mean, just absolutely devastating. And it's one of those things where every time I watch a true story that has a very sad ending, I find myself hoping that it's going to end differently, and yet you know exactly how it's going to end, so you knew. I hope it's not a spoiler alert to tell people that she died. I would assume that most people...
You're supposed to say spoiler before you actually say it.
Okay, listen, you just stop right there, okay? I'm assuming, and I don't think that I'm out of line in assuming, that most people in India know who Neerja is. I am assuming also that she's a national hero, and so they know that she died. She should be a national hero. Of course she should be.
She's got the spirit of Jahin on her.
And she's gotten all sorts of posthumous awards from a variety of countries, including the United States, because she saved dozens of American lives. I mean, she saved more than 100 people's lives, to be sure, but dozens of those were American lives, and so we should be very grateful for that. I personally am grateful for that because, even though that happened a long time ago and I didn't know about it at the time that it happened, I'm grateful for that. Anybody who wants to stand up against terrorists and save innocent lives is a hero in my book, and so she was rightly recognized as a hero, and I knew the sad ending was coming, and I felt as a mom just horrible, because you think about your own child in that situation where they're young and they're just starting off on their adult life, and then it ends that quickly, and I would just, of course, be so heartbroken. So my heart went out to her mom, her dad too, but I'm a mom, so I felt terrible for her.
I liked how the film began with, you saw the beginning of the night, she's at a party.
Yes.
You see the terrorists
yes.
in Karachi planning. And they kept going back and
yes.
forth, back and forth, back and forth.
The stark difference between freedom...
2 lives.
Yes, between freedom and tyranny. The difference between somebody who enjoys liberty and somebody who wants to take liberty. Yeah, that was a stark contrast, and I agree. I think it was good to show it.
I think there should be a special bond between India, America, and Israel.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the jihadist tendencies of our enemies.
Yeah.
And and it's unfortunate that it's we have some leaders, I think, that could really repress this issue quite a bit. If Putin would step up, if Modi would step up, if Trump would step up, if those three guys work together with Netanyahu, things would just greatly calm down.
Well, from the perspective of the nation of India, their next door neighbor it's a terrorist stronghold. I mean, that's not to say that every person who lives in Pakistan is a terrorist.
But every person who lives in Pakistan is a terrorist?
Well, I can't say every person, but I will say that their government is terroristic. And it seems that the vast majority of the people support that. And so India is saddled with that. They have that right next door on their border. As far as America and Israel are concerned, the terrorists refer to us as the Great Satan, and Israel is the Little Satan. So, it's very clear.
And if you're going to be Satan, you might as well be the Great Satan. Why be a little Satan? Just really stop.
I think they hate Israel because they're Jews, and they hate America because while many people who live here are not Christians, our founders were Christians. You and I are born-again Christians. And our government, notwithstanding the people who are currently in it, some of those are, not stellar people, but the form of government that we have was directly taken from the Bible. And so there's no mystery as to why Muslim terrorists hate us. That being said, you mentioned Russia as well. They have their own problem with Muslim terrorists. And so, I agree that it would behoove them also to work with America, India, and Israel to stamp this out.
I'm going to tell you right now, because if these four nations would come together, Israel will do what they got to do, right?
And they always do.
America is such a war machine. Let's just turn it on. Let's just really crank it up on them. And I'm telling you, dude, when I saw Pussy Riot get beat up by the Russian police, you know what they could do to jihadists, dude. They would just... I've been watching a lot of Russian war films.
I know.
I don't want anything to do with the Russians when it comes to war. They are war hardened.
Well, Adolf Hitler thought that he would be able to beat them.
Adolf Hitler was a punk.
He was a disgusting specimen of humanity.
That's like the overstatement of the lifetime.
He
was a Nazi.
Yes, I hate even referring to him as a human being because he was so despicable. But he made the pact with Russia. I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, kids are having fun.
Okay. Anyhow, he made a pact with Russia that, of course, they would be together in World War II with no intention of ever keeping that pact. And so he turned on them, and he foolishly figured that he would be able to go into Russia and just whip them like that. He didn't count on the Soviet winter and what that was going to be like, nor did he count on the fact that, hey, guess what? It turns out that the people who lived in the Soviet Union valued their lives, and so they fought back. And then
a lot of people died.
Oh, millions of people died. But then when they linked up with America and Great Britain and became part of the Allied powers, there was no stopping us. No stopping us.
Think anybody did like this for Ally? They drew up like a little Ally. Allies forever, yo!
Probably
they should have. They should have.
But you got to figure. We know in Hitler's last days, he was panicked because he had the Soviets coming on one side and he had the Americans coming on the other side. Bombs are dropping all around in Berlin. I mean, they had bombed other cities too, but...
I think the problem with terrorism, we should teach them to make beats, not bombs. Let's make them all DJs, Arabic house music, beats, not bombs.
I think the problem with terrorism is that it's a demonic ideology and you have to beat it with force. You cannot play nice with these people. Did it work? Let's go back again to World War II.
Just imagine if somebody
you're cutting me off. Let's go back to World War II, to 1939. Germany invades Poland. Neville Chamberlain, the complete
limp-wristed.
Yes, limp-wristed pacifist leader of Britain at the time, says that he can make a deal with Hitler, and he comes back and announces in Great Britain that we have peace in our time. Well, how long did that last? That didn't last at all because there was no peace. You don't deal with terrorists from a position of weakness. You deal from a position of strength. And if we fought them the way that we fought them in World War II, they'd be decimated. But somehow people don't want to do that today. And Islam is just Nazism under a different name.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. It's.
I know I'm absolutely right.
I feel prison professor getting ready to bust out at any moment.
Prison professor?
Yeah, don't you remember Prison Mike? I have the bandana.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. I had the bandana.
Yeah. Are you really going to put that on?
No. I wonder how long it's going to be before we get kicked out. Security just walked by.
I know, they did. They
gave us a look over.
They're probably wondering what we're doing. But again, here's where age comes in handy, okay? And this is something that we didn't fully appreciate when we were young and we didn't want to get old and we were kind of bitter toward people who were older than us at the time. Now that we're in our 40s, it works to your advantage. It really does. Because if we were in our 20s doing this, they would have stopped. But because we're in our 40s, they just walk by.
This is when me and Action Jackson go out and we do at the donut shop. As soon as they see the mic come out, they're like,
the employees.
Yeah, and then it's one after another to see what we're doing,
right.
And you're not disturbing anything. But anyways, I'm getting completely derailed.
We're supposed to be talking about Neerja.
Neerja, good movie, yes.
Excellent movie.
Yes.
Yes, thumbs up.
Yes,
Two thumbs up.
It's. I think it's been the best Bollywood film that I've seen so far. That it's just really like.
I would agree. Now I haven't seen nearly as many as you have.
Because I am the great mighty professor, co-protector of India.
Fair enough. You spend more time watching movies than I do. I spend more time reading than you do. So, and as you know, World War II history, specifically the Holocaust, is my field of interest. Don't put that around your face. Take that off. That's ridiculous. Come on now. You're getting ridiculous. Come back to reality, Professor.
Back to life, back to reality.
So, so we like Neerja.
Yes, love Neerja. I'm surprised we haven't seen that actress in more stuff. I mean, she was phenomenal, and then my Indian friends
did she look like the real Neerja?
She did.
She really did. That was, I mean, I could tell why the real life Neerja was a model as well. She was beautiful. I mean, just a beautiful
Not as
young
beautiful
girl.
as you.
Thanks, Smoochie.
So,
oops, I just called you by your nickname.
Hey,
we'll see if anybody noticed.
Nobody remembers. We were talking about this. We were talking about making this video, and you wanted to talk about Islam and why it's such a problem.
Well, right, because of course the movie is heavily about terrorists.
I'm going to yield the floor to you so you can kind of just share your thoughts on the origins of Islam.
Okay. For anyone who doesn't know, and I'm sure, again, people who live in India, our friends that live in India, are well aware that the terrorists were arrested. They were sentenced, to death. It got commuted to life. And some of them have escaped because a Pakistan jail is not going to hold, Pakistani jail is not going to hold these people. They're going to let them go. And one of the things that we talked about, of course, is how frustrating that is because terrorism in the Islamic form has been going on almost since the dawn of time. Now, the actual religion of Islam has only been around, since the 7th or 8th century AD. But the beginnings of what would become Islam has been going on nearly since the beginning of time. So what I'm going to do, bear with me a moment. I'm going to get up my phone here because I have a Bible app on my phone because I wanted to read something. When we were watching Neerja, it occurred to me that, and this is not the first time this has occurred to me, that the main problem with Islam is that they are hateful toward everyone. They hate Jews, they hate Americans, they hate Indians, they hate Christians, they hate Hindus, they hate Buddhists, they hate everybody.
They're equal opportunity haters.
But they hate other Muslims as well. And the reason for that comes from the book of Genesis, which, if you're unfamiliar with the Bible, is the very first book of the Bible. It's in what we call the Old Testament, so these would be the Hebrew Scriptures. Genesis chapter 16, and it starts with verse 11, where we are told the name of one of Abraham's sons, and his name is Ishmael. And in verse 12, this is what it says about Ishmael. It says, "He shall be a wild donkey of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. And he shall dwell over against all his kinsmen." In other translations, it says not just that his hand is against everyone and everyone's hand against him, but that he will live at enmity toward his brothers, okay? His brothers in this instance would end up being the Jewish people, because Abraham was later the father of Isaac, but they would also be his Muslim brothers. All Muslims recognize that their religion goes all the way back to Ishmael, the son of Abraham. So you can see right there, back in, 2100 BC, around that time, somewhere around that time, when Ishmael is born, already God is saying he's going to be a wild donkey of a man. And guess what? That remains to this day. He is a wild donkey of a man. He is against everyone. And I think that the reason, and again, this is coming from my biblical perspective, from my worldview as a born-again Christian, I believe there is something particularly evil about Islam because it has its roots back in Bible times. And I think that there is a satanic power, basically, that pervades Islam. And that's why they're so difficult.
Salman Rushdie would agree with you, the satanic verse.
I think he would. I think he would. And that's why it's so difficult to stamp them out, because it's not just a random person or a random group of people that have some aberrant ideology. These are people and nations and governments that are actually satanically inspired. And that makes it a little more difficult for us as mere mortals to kind of stamp that out. They have the power of what the Bible calls the prince of the power of the air, and that would be Satan himself. So I think that's why it's so important that people do band together and recognize that's what Islam is. There's basically, you have a secular religion, and or a cultural Islam, which would be secular, and you have a religious Islam. A cultural Muslim or a secular Muslim, they're people who have been born into a family that calls themselves Muslims. They don't really adhere to the Quran. They recognize it as a holy book, but they're not out to kill people. They're not out to hate Jews or Americans or Hindus or anybody else. They just kind of want to live their lives, and those are the Muslims that are suffering in these Muslim lands. But the problem is that you have, even though it's a minority of religious Muslims, there's still billions of them. And so that minority lords it over those who do not agree with them. And that's why it's convert or die. Basically, that's their ideology, convert or die. And so it's the religious Muslims that really are problematic here and around the world. They're the ones that we have to deal with. They're the ones that they leave Muslim lands not because they hate it in those Muslim lands, but it's because they want everywhere else in the world to be like those Muslim lands. They want to establish a caliphate here, there, and everywhere, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that is, we talked a lot about on this channel. I think more individual freedom is better than less, and I think that's a good, just a very rudimentary, basic way of judging an ideology. What, if you are presented with something, do I have more freedom or less freedom?
Right.
And I thought this was good to have you on and share your thoughts on it, because this came up during the movie when we were watching it. Mm-hmm. There's another movie that we're going to have to see. It's called Rangoon. Okay. Rangoon is a war that happened in 1971, I believe, and it started the Indo-Pakistani War, and there's a film for it. I did a trailer review for it, and it was an outstanding trailer review. May I say it was outstanding?
Aren't all of your reviews outstanding?
No, some of them are very terrible.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes it is what it is. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I know this is a long one, so good job to you if you made it all the way to 19 minutes and whatever, maybe 20 minutes.
Almost 20.
Yes. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. That way you can stay up to date on all the latest videos. And send me a friend request on Facebook. Unless you're Pakistani, then I'm joking. You can if you want to. You may not like what you read, but that's fine. I'll have to edit that part out. That's probably a bad idea. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.